Why do we make the same mistakes as our parents? Have you ever caught yourself saying something to your child and then thinking, oh no, I sounded just like my mom or my dad? Maybe it was telling your child, because I said so, or some other phrase that you swore you'd never repeat. The truth is, even with the best intentions, and no matter how hard we try, many of us end up repeating the very same patterns that we grew up with, even when we promise ourselves that we won't, and we try really hard not to. So, why does this happen? Why do parenting patterns repeat? And more importantly, what can we do about it? Well, from the moment we're born, we learn to do life by watching our parents. They're our first teachers, showing us what love looks like, what anger looks like, and how to deal with disappointment or stress. If we experienced warmth, acceptance, and validation, that's what we naturally pass on. And that doesn't bother us so much, right? But if our parents were quick to anger, or dismissive, or emotionally distant, those reactions also often sneak into our own parenting, even if we don't want them to. And again, we may try really hard not to do what our parents do, but ultimately that means our parents are still controlling us. And it's just really difficult to do the opposite or learn new ways. So here's the tricky part. Much of this is unconscious. We're not always reacting to what our child is actually doing. Instead, their behavior often triggers our old feelings from childhood. And suddenly, without realizing it, we're not just responding to our child, we're reacting to our past. We're getting triggered, right? So what do triggers really mean? Think about a time that you felt an overwhelming surge of anger or irritation or even dread because of something small that your child did. Maybe whining, slamming a door, or refusing to eat. That strong emotional reaction is often less about your child and more about you. It's a signal, a warning light that one of your, buttons has been pushed. And those buttons are usually connected to feelings from childhood. Feelings like loneliness or fear or not being good enough. Instead of empathizing with your child, you short circuit. We snap, we shout or shut down. It feels easier than revisiting those old wounds. But the good news is, once we notice what's happening, we can start to break that cycle. So let's look at those generational patterns. Sometimes these patterns go back more than one generation, like 2, 3, or several. I mean, it's pretty hard to put our finger on that, right? One therapist I knew described how her own mother hated the sound of children shrieking at play. Later, she noticed that she felt the same way with her own daughter, even though the kids were just having fun. When she dug deeper, she discovered the origin. Her grandmother suffered from frequent migraines, and noisy children were punished harshly in the household. Her mother had grown up associating children's laughter with fear. Without meaning to, that fear had been passed down. This shows us something really powerful. Family patterns aren't always personal. They can echo across generations. But if we bring them into awareness, we can choose not to pass them on. So, how can we break the cycle? What can you do the next time you feel that irritation or anger rising up inside of you? First, you stop and take a breath, and then name the feeling. Tell yourself, I'm feeling frustrated. I'm overwhelmed. I'm scared. By naming it, you stop blaming your child for causing it. Second, get curious. Ask yourself, when did I first feel this way? What does this remind me of? You may not always find an answer, but just holding on to the idea that there is a story behind it helps you shift the focus from your child to your own experience. And third, practice empathy, both for yourself and for your child. If you can remember what it felt like to be a kid, maybe clumsy or annoying or hard to please, you can better understand what your child is going through in the present. And finally, don't underestimate the power of repair. If you lose your temper, own it. Apologize. Yeah, apologize to your kid. Saying I'm sorry not only heals the moment, but it teaches your child that mistakes don't have to be shameful. They can be opportunities for connection or growth. And here's the truth. No parent gets it right all the time. Unless you've had years of therapy and saint-like patience, you're going to lose it now and again. And even then, but what matters most isn't perfection, it's awareness. By noticing your triggers, reflecting on where they come from, and taking responsibility for your reactions, you can stop the cycle of passing down pain. And in doing so, you give your child the gift of a healthier, more compassionate way to grow up. So the next time you catch your parents' words slipping out of your mouth, pause. Just take a breath. And remember, you have the power to write a new story for yourself and for your family. So I hope that you guys have benefited from this, and I just thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe, and tell us your experiences with parenting and those generational patterns that creep in sometimes. So I hope that you all have a wonderful and beautiful day. You take care.